The ogre's scary, but this, 105-pound redhead is even more terrifying because emotions.
Have you ever had something you love dismissed because it's just pop culture? What others might deem stupid shit, matters. It's worth talking and thinking about. And so do we. So come overthink with us as we delve into our deep thoughts about stupid shit.
I'm Emily Guy Birken, and you're listening to Deep Thoughts About Stupid Shit, because pop culture is still culture. And shouldn't you know what's in your head? In today's patron-exclusive bonus episode, I will be sharing my deep thoughts about the 2001 movie Shrek with my sister, Tracie Guy-Decker, and with you. Let's dive in. All right, Trace, tell me what you remember about Shrek.
Yeah, Shrek is in my head, man. It is. I know Shrek is in my head. I like Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, like so much chemistry in that comedic duo. I kind of love donkeys just in general, and so I really love Donkey. And there's a lot of lines that stick with me, and there's something so I find it truly delightful to have these sort of like the mashup and the retelling of the fairy tales, like all mashed up together and retold. It appeals to me in a deep, deep way. And so I really love Shrek. Like, there are some analyses that I could probably share, but I'll wait till we get into it. But let's just say, like, I'm a big fan of the ogres and the donkey and Gingy and Pinocchio and like the whole crew. They live in my head rent free. Even though, I mean, like, when did Shrek come out, the first
2001.
one? Oh, okay. So it is pretty old. So I was in my, mid-20s, I guess, when it came out. And then it became very important to my kid. It was one of the movies that she watched on repeat. Mm-hmm. Actually, later versions. I'm not sure it was actually Shrek. I think it was but the franchise. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Anyway, I actually don't want to spend any more time here. Tell me why we're talking about it. Why is it important to you?
So I saw it, I believe, in the theater and loved it. Didn't really spend a whole heck of a lot of time thinking about it. It wasn't yes, it was furniture of my mind, but it wasn't something I really wrapped around myself. But my first child was born in 2010. And from the time he was about 15 months old, maybe a little bit older, it was his favorite movie. Like, he absolutely loved it, to the point where in 2012, my husband and I went to a wedding out of state. And another couple who had a child who was about the same age as ours hired a babysitter to watch our kids while we went to the wedding. So their son and our son. And my eldest was very connected to me. So like he was a little bit tough to deal with
separation anxiety.
Yeah. So we had told the babysitter, like, you put on Shrek and he'll be fine. And we came back and it was on its second and a half rotation. She just put it on immediately as soon as we left. And he was fine. And so, to the point where this kid doesn't really remember the movie, but I was watching it last night and laughing at a couple of things. And in the middle, we had dinner. So like I paused it, we had dinner. And my husband said to me, like, some of you may die. And my son said, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. He's like, how do I know that? What is that from? So I feel very nostalgic and fond of this movie because it reminds me of my child's babyhood. But I also am a little concerned about what messages he was imbibing as such a tiny child. That it's not that I regret it, but there are things that I think could have been better. So that's why it's important to me to talk about it.
Cool. All right. Well, remind me, the characters live rent-free, but remind me of the plot that brings them together.
We meet Shrek, an ogre, who lives in a swamp by himself. He scares off any villagers who try to come with torches and pitchforks. And he is very happy to live alone, and he thinks fairy tales are bullshit. We learn that at the very beginning. We also learn that the local Lord of Duloc, Lord Farquaad, is rounding up all of the magical fairy tale creatures and evicting them from their homes because he wants this perfect kingdom. So because he evicts them, the only place they can go is Shrek's swamp. One of the first fairy tale characters that Shrek meets is Donkey, who is voiced by Eddie Murphy, who is very funny.
So funny. In my head, I think about I think it's like a Tinkerbell kind of a pixie, like gets pixie dust on him and he starts to fly and he's like a talking flying donkey. And oh man.
Well, and anytime we're talking about plans for the next day, and I'm like, and in the morning, I'm making waffles. So Donkey immediately wants to be friends with Shrek, is ignoring Shrek's very clear boundaries and hints that he does not want him there. Then all the other fairy tale creatures show up, and he finds out it's because of Lord Farquaad, and so he and Donkey go to confront Lord Farquaad to get him to get rid of these fairy tale creatures from his swamp. When they get there, we learn Farquaad wants to have the most perfect kingdom in the land, and the magic mirror tells him, well, you're not technically a king, but he says you can be if you marry a princess, and he lets him know about 3 potential princesses: Snow White, Cinderella, and Fiona. Fiona is in a ruined castle that is guarded by a fire-breathing dragon, and so anyone who can rescue her from the castle can marry her and become king. There is an enchantment on Fiona, but Farquaad doesn't pay any attention when the mirror tries to tell him that. So Farquaad is holding a tournament for all the knights to find someone to go on this quest to get Fiona for him. And that's where some of you may die, but that is the sacrifice I'm willing to make comes from. And so Shrek shows up in the midst of this tournament. And because Farquaad hates anything fairy tale, he's really nasty to Shrek and says, new plan, instead of a tournament, you're all to kill whoever kills the ogre will get to go on this quest. And Shrek manages to disarm everyone. And Farquaad says, all right, if you go rescue the princess, I'll give you your swamp back. So he and Donkey make it to Fiona's castle. It's in the midst of it's on an island surrounded by lava. And there is a dragon there. There's bones everywhere from the previous knights who have attempted to save her. And Shrek manages to save Fiona. Donkey is kind of captured by the dragon, who he talks his way out of being eaten because he realizes it's a female dragon, and he is flattering her, and she falls in love with him.
He charms her into not
eating him. Yes. Another, I know I'm sure you hear this all the time from your food, but you have just lovely teeth. You bleach or something? It's just a shining white smile.
And we know she's female because she has lipstick on.
And eyelashes.
And eyelashes.
And she's purple and pink.
Because those colors are inherently feminine.
Yes, it's biology. They managed to escape the dragon without slaying it. The dragon is actually quite sad when she sees the donkey is leaving. Fiona finally gets a look at Shrek because he was wearing a helmet, and she sees that he's an ogre. She believes that she's waiting for true love's first kiss. And he's like, no, that's not me. I'm here to take you to Farquaad. Another moment where she says, will you tell Farquaad he can come get me himself? And he says, I'm nobody's messenger boy. I'm a delivery boy. And he picks her up and carries her. I don't know why that struck me as so funny. They get like about halfway back and the sun is starting to set, and Fiona freaks out. Is like, no, we need to camp. We need to find a place to camp overnight. And she's like, there are robbers and terrible things in the woods. And he's like, I'm scarier than anything else that we would find in the woods. And then she screams in his face, I need to find a place to camp now, which I'm going to talk about that. So they find a cave. She grabs some bark for a door and puts it over the cave, and we don't see her that night. Donkey and Shrek talk a little bit about the fact that Shrek rejects everyone because they reject him. So it's easier for him to just push everyone away than to wait for them to grab the torches and pitchforks. The next day, they're continuing along. Fiona makes breakfast for them, saying, like, we got off on the wrong foot. I'd like to kind of start again. After breakfast, Shrek burps and Donkey, like, reprimands him. He's like, what? It's a compliment. And then Fiona burps. So we get she's not like other girls. And then they run into Robin Hood and his merry men, who are French for some reason. I don't know.
And like exuberantly gay coded.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they're French, because obviously.
Yeah, it's biology. So Fiona single-handedly takes out all of Robin Hood and his merry men.
With some Matrix like references.
Yes. So Matrix was only 2 years old at this point, so it was still topical. And Shrek says to Fiona, you're not like I was expecting. And she said, well, maybe you should get to know people before you make a judgment about them. So there's the thesis, and it's underlined.
It's so helpful when our culture does that for us.
And it's clear that Shrek and Fiona are starting to really like each other. They get to an old windmill that is within sight of Dulac and make camp for the night again so that Fiona can stay in the windmill. They have dinner, they're talking. It's really clear that Shrek likes Fiona, but he's losing his nerve when he wants to ask her, if she wants to go with him or whatever.
Wants to go with him.
Shrek goes off after Fiona goes into the windmill, like off by himself, and Donkey goes into the windmill to talk to Fiona to be like, look, Shrek likes you. You should encourage that. You should talk to him. And he finds that Fiona is actually an ogre at night because she was enchanted so that she's human during the day and an ogre at night. And so she experiences a lot of self-loathing, and she and Donkey are talking about it. And she's saying, like, princess and ugly don't go together. Shrek overhears that, thinks that she's talking about him. And so he goes to Dulac and gets Farquaad and brings them back in the morning. So she had decided to tell him just as the sun came up. And so she's back to her human form. And he's so rude to Fiona, thinking that she has rejected him, that she goes off with Farquaad and says, let's get married today before sunset, before she turns into an ogre again. Shrek and Donkey get into a fight because Shrek thinks Donkey, like, betrayed him too, because he was the one talking to Fiona. And then they have kind of a really overwrought scene with Hallelujah playing that I kind of still love, even though it is really overwrought. So you see Shrek and Fiona both being really sad while Fiona is trying on her wedding gown. And then you also see Donkey being really sad, and he happens to see the dragon is right there, has escaped from the castle. So Donkey comes back to Shrek's swamp, starts building a wall there. And Shrek's like, what are you doing? This is my swamp. He's like, no, it's our swamp, and I'm building a wall between your half and my half. He's like, what do you mean our swamp? He's like, well, I did half the work on this quest, so I get half the booty. And so they fight. They finally get to a point where Donkey is able to say she wasn't talking about you. She was talking about someone else. And he won't say who because she made him promise that he wouldn't tell. They realize, oh my goodness, the wedding, we got to stop it. And so Donkey whistles for the dragon, who comes and gives them the ride to the to-do lock. Another favorite moment is they get off of the dragon and Donkey says to her, like, go on, have some fun. We'll whistle if we need you. So she's about to go, like, lay siege to the village. But the entire village is in the church watching the wedding. They stop the wedding. Shrek confesses that he loves Fiona. Farquaad makes fun of him and says, Fiona, we're but a kiss away from our happily ever after. She sees the sun is going down and she's like, all right, I'm going to show my true self. And she steps into where the darkness is so that she becomes an ogre. Shrek says, yeah, I love you. And dragon comes in, eats Farquaad and spits out his crown. And Shrek and Fiona kiss. And then she does, this is like very clearly the transformation scene from Beauty and the Beast with the light shining out of her. And then she comes back down. You can't really see her because of her angle. And Shrek helps her up and she's still an ogre. And she's like, but I was supposed to be beautiful. And he says, but you are beautiful. And then cue a wedding scene between Shrek and Fiona and then a dance party for I'm a Believer. No conversation about the 2 days and then wedding thing. Like, let's disrupt our fairy tale expectations, except for that.
I feel like there are other things.
Yeah.
We will need to talk about
There's,
as well.
there's a bunch. Yeah.
Podcasts are like onions. They've got layers. But if you want to listen to the rest of these layers, you gotta head over to Patreon. Find the link in the show notes. And thanks. Do you like stickers? Sure, we all do. If you head over to guygirlsmedia.com/signup and share your address with us, we'll send you a sticker. It really is that easy. But don't wait, there's a limited quantity. Thanks for listening. Our theme music is Professor Umlaut by Kevin MacLeod from incompetech.com. Find full music credits in the show notes. Until next time, remember, pop culture is still culture. And shouldn't you know what's in your head?